It was late afternoon in 1970, somewhere along a quiet stretch of road in Paris, Illinois. 22-year-old Terry Matthews was making her way home after what had been an ordinary day. The sun was dipping low on her right, casting everything around her in vivid shades of red and green. She would later recall how striking those colours were, how extremely vibrant they seemed against the evening sky, as if the world itself had been saturated with an unusual intensity. It was the kind of drive she had made countless times before, a familiar route through the Illinois countryside. But on this particular day, something happened that would change the course of her life forever, though she wouldn't fully understand what had occurred until nearly 3 decades later, when hypnotic regression would finally reveal the disturbing truth. One moment she was watching the sunset. The next, everything was different. Without any warning or transition she could remember, Terry found herself engulfed in total darkness. A violent rainstorm had appeared from nowhere, so intense that she could barely see past the hood of her car. The rain hammered against the windshield with such force that it seemed almost impossible, like something out of a tornado. But that wasn't the strangest part. As she gripped the steering wheel, trying to maintain control, she could feel something pulling the car toward the side of the road. It wasn't the wind or the rain. Something else, something she couldn't explain, was dragging her vehicle off course. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything changed again. A bright flash filled her vision, and the rain began to taper off until it stopped entirely. Terry sat there, confused but apparently unharmed. After gathering herself, she continued on her way home, not thinking to check the time. When she finally walked through her front door, her husband was waiting for her with worry written across his face. He told her it was nearly 10 o'clock at night. Terry had left work, expecting to be home within a reasonable hour. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit like. It really helps to keep the channel growing. And if you're new here, subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss our latest videos. We've got lots of strange and fascinating stories coming up, and we'd love to have you along for the journey. Somehow, more than 2 hours had vanished from her evening, and she had absolutely no memory of where that time had gone. This bewildering incident marked the beginning of a pattern that would repeat itself throughout Terry's life. Over the months and years that followed, she began keeping a detailed journal of the strange events that seemed to follow her. She documented intense nightmares that felt so real she could barely distinguish them from waking life. She recorded additional episodes of missing time, periods where hours would simply disappear without explanation. Perhaps most disturbing of all, she noted the appearance of unexplained markings on her body, including bruises and scars that she had no memory of receiving. During this same period, Terry witnessed several UFOs. These sightings, combined with the missing time and the physical evidence appearing on her body, led her to a troubling conclusion. She began to suspect that she was being abducted, and that these abductions were happening repeatedly. Despite living with these frightening experiences for years, it wasn't until Terry sought out David Jacobs, a researcher who specialised in investigating alien abduction cases, that she finally began to piece together what might be happening to her. Jacobs listened to her account and immediately suspected that the strange drive home in 1970 was the key to understanding everything else. He offered to help Terry recover her lost memories through hypnotic regression, but he also gave her a warning. If she chose to delve into these seemingly repressed memories, he told her, it would change her life and her entire perspective on the world around her. Terry was undeterred. After years of unexplained experiences and the constant feeling that something was happening to her beyond her control, she needed answers. She agreed to undergo several hypnotic regression sessions with Jacobs, and eventually he took her back to that day in 1970, back to that lonely Illinois road where she had found herself caught in that sudden, violent storm. Under hypnosis, Terry began to recall details that had been hidden from her conscious memory for decades. She remembered the weather changing around her and the sensation of the car being pulled off the road. But now she could also recall that she had actually brought the car to a stop herself. And when she looked out of the window, she saw something that explained everything and nothing at the same time. Hovering over the road, spanning both sides of it, was a huge craft. Terry sat frozen in her car, watching this object in complete shock. She described it as having a blunt shape and a silver-grey colour. But what truly terrified her was what came next. 6 beings emerged from the craft and began walking toward her vehicle. She described them as having grey skin, oversized heads, and large black eyes, the kind of beings that have become so familiar in abduction accounts around the world. Panic took over. Terry got out of her car and tried to run. She wanted to scream, to call for help, but no sound would come out of her mouth. No matter how hard she tried, she was physically unable to make a noise. All she could think was that she needed to get away, that she had to escape. But then a bright light from the craft caught her, and her surroundings changed once again. The next thing Terry knew, she was inside a strange room with these entities surrounding her. She assumed she must be aboard the very craft she had been trying to flee from. The beings instructed her to undress, and though she felt deeply embarrassed and resistant, she found herself completely powerless to disobey. They told her to remove her jewellery as well, including her wedding ring, and she complied with that too, as if she had no control over her own actions. Then they led her to some kind of table, and what happened next would prove to be the most harrowing part of her recovered memories. The beings informed Terry that she was pregnant, but according to what she recalled under hypnosis, they didn't simply examine her. They removed the unborn baby from her womb and replaced it with another. What happened to the baby they took from her was never explained. As the regression sessions continued over time, Terry uncovered more and more memories of disturbing abduction encounters. The revelations became so unsettling that she decided to take action. She began recording herself while she slept, hoping to capture evidence if any further strange events occurred during the night. Remarkably, Terry came to believe that her decision to record herself actually prevented additional abductions from taking place. This raises an interesting question. If these abductors are as technologically advanced as they appear to be, one would assume they would be aware of recording devices and could easily disable them. One might also expect they would be unconcerned by such primitive technology. Yet if there is any truth to Terry's observation that the recordings put a stop to her abductions, it could potentially be significant information for others who believe they are experiencing similar encounters. But even if the abductions ceased after her regression therapy, Terry continued to make remarkable and deeply troubling discoveries during the sessions themselves. Beyond her own experiences, she recalled seeing all of her children being abducted, each on separate occasions. She described these memories as exceedingly traumatic. The fact that her children were also taken should perhaps not come as a complete surprise. According to David Jacobs and other researchers in this field, these kinds of abductions are often intergenerational. Many people who experience repeat abductions eventually discover that not only have their children been taken, but that their own parents were likely victims as well. Whatever is behind these encounters appears to target entire family lines across multiple generations. With this in mind, Jacobs decided to regress Terry back to the 1970 incident a second time, hoping she might recall additional details. This second session took place approximately 3 years after the first regression to that particular event, and what Terry remembered added an entirely new dimension to her account. This time, in addition to the grey-skinned entities, Terry recalled seeing a woman present during her abduction. But this woman, Terry noted under hypnosis, didn't look normal. Her eyes were unusually large. Terry identified her as a hybrid, describing her as strange-looking and angry. Even more bizarrely, this woman was holding what appeared to be a human baby. When Terry looked down at herself, she discovered that she too was holding a baby. She believed the woman must have placed it in her arms. Terry recalled after the session that the baby looked mostly human, but there was something wrong with it. It appeared very frail and thin, as though it hadn't been eating well. Its skin had a pink, human-like colour, but there was also a definite greyish tinge to it. The face looked human enough, but the eyes were decidedly different, noticeably larger than any normal baby's eyes would be. What struck Terry most was the way the baby looked at her. Though it couldn't have been more than 1 or 2 months old, still wrapped in a blanket as any infant that age would be, its eyes appeared wise. They seemed more aware and knowledgeable than any human baby should be. Terry elaborated that babies typically curl into you when they're held, seeking comfort instinctively. This baby did not. It remained rigid and self-aware, simply staring back at her without any of the normal infant behaviours she would have expected. The next thing Terry could recall was feeding the baby. Then the hybrid woman approached and took the infant from her arms. Terry remembered not wanting to let it go. The entities had told her the baby was hers, and though she didn't believe them, when the woman took it away, she felt a profound loss. It was the kind of grief, she said, that any mother or father would feel if someone took their child from them. The feeling cut so deep inside her that she struggled to describe it. Terry would later share her own thoughts on what she believes is happening. She said it upsets her deeply when she thinks about these hybrid children, because in her view, they are the true victims of whatever this phenomenon is. She explained that what is being bred out of them is what exists naturally in us, our ability for compassion, our ability to feel, to love. They have to relearn these things through us, she said. This perspective aligns with findings from other researchers, including Jacobs, who has investigated numerous cases where abductees appear to be used as unwitting teachers for these hybrid children and young adults. Beyond the typical lessons any human child might learn during infancy and early childhood, some abductees have found themselves in remarkably mundane situations, teaching adult hybrids how to go shopping, how to pay for items, how to interact appropriately with other people. The everyday behaviours that come naturally to most humans are things these hybrid beings apparently need to learn if they hope to blend into human society. The idea that an alien-human hybridization program lies at the heart of most abduction experiences is something that has been voiced by multiple researchers over the years. Jacobs himself has suggested that the ultimate goal of this program may be to create a hybrid race that will eventually take over the planet, essentially doing so undetected, slipping in by the back door. Some researchers have even pointed to an alleged secret deal that may have set all of this in motion. According to various whistleblower documents and testimonies, in February 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower, along with several high-ranking representatives from classified government agencies, allegedly met with representatives of a grey alien race at an aircraft hangar in California. Officially, the president was undergoing emergency dental treatment. But according to these accounts, something far more significant was taking place. The grey aliens reportedly offered access to advanced technology in exchange for access to members of the American population. They wished to take people aboard their spacecraft for research purposes, after which the subjects would be returned unharmed and with no memory of what had happened. Some accounts suggest that Eisenhower was told that if he refused, the aliens would simply make the same offer to the leaders of the Soviet Union, which would have shifted the balance of power dramatically during the Cold War. If these accounts contain any truth, it would appear the grey aliens initially kept to their side of the agreement. But as the decades progressed, they reportedly began abducting people who had not been authorised, and in far greater numbers than had been agreed upon. They also began abducting people in other countries around the world. Some researchers even claim that a confrontation occurred in the late 1970s at an underground location somewhere in the western United States regarding this breach of the alleged agreement. The fact that alien abductions seem to increase substantially during the 1980s and 1990s might suggest that whatever conflict occurred, the grey aliens either emerged victorious or a new arrangement was negotiated. Whether Eisenhower and his representatives were ever aware of any hybridization program remains unclear. While many dismiss such claims entirely, it is notable that reports of alien abduction at the hands of grey entities began to emerge in the years following this alleged 1954 meeting. The technological revolution also gained significant momentum after that date, placing the United States on a technological plateau unrivalled by other nations. While such claims might sound outrageous to many, the patterns across abduction reports are difficult to ignore. Thousands, if not millions, of people around the world and across the decades have claimed that they were abducted by beings not of this earth. A significant proportion of those who recall these events, whether through their own memory or through hypnotic regression, describe undergoing bizarre and often disturbing medical procedures. Many of these procedures appear to focus specifically on reproduction and reproductive systems. Statistics suggest that a larger percentage of abductees are female, and that these abductions tend to begin in childhood and cease when the woman reaches her late 40s or 50s, essentially when she is no longer able to bear children. If these patterns hold any truth, they would certainly support the notion of a breeding program. The intergenerational aspect of these experiences is equally compelling. Many repeat abductees discover that their children have been taken, and often their parents as well. This could suggest that certain genetic factors, perhaps specific genes or blood types, are favourable to whoever is behind these abductions. The encounters appear to involve far more predetermined planning and targeting of specific individuals or family lines than random chance would suggest. The consistency of these accounts across different researchers, investigators and abductees from various parts of the world raises questions that deserve serious consideration. Whether one believes in the literal truth of these experiences or suspects more psychological explanations, the patterns remain striking. Missing time, generational involvement, reproductive procedures, and hybrid beings appear again and again in reports spanning decades and continents. Terry Matthews' story is one piece of a much larger and deeply unsettling picture. Her experiences, uncovered through years of hypnotic regression with David Jacobs, suggest that her abductions were not random events, but part of something organised, something with a clear purpose. The beings that took her, the procedures they performed, the hybrid children she was shown, all point toward an agenda that extends far beyond any single individual. If there is any truth to the claims of Terry Matthews and the findings of researchers like David Jacobs, the implications should concern all of us. While many people dismiss such notions outright, even some within the UFO research community, to reject them entirely without proper investigation could potentially place humanity in a precarious position. The fact that multiple researchers and investigators have independently arrived at similar conclusions about an alien-human hybridization program, combined with the countless claims from abductees around the world and the persistent accounts of secret agreements between government agencies and grey alien entities, suggests that these claims deserve more serious examination sooner rather than later. For Terry, the cost of these revelations was high. Learning what had been happening to her throughout her life, discovering that her children had been taken as well, confronting the loss of babies she never knew she carried, these are burdens that would weigh heavily on anyone. Yet she chose to share her story, perhaps hoping that others who have experienced similar things might find some understanding in her words, or perhaps because she felt a responsibility to sound a warning about what she believes is happening. Critics point out that psychologically induced false memories, cultural storytelling, or dream-based experiences could explain accounts like Terry's. The use of regression therapy also raises questions about suggestibility and whether such techniques might shape or distort recollections rather than accurately recover them. These are legitimate concerns that cannot be dismissed. Yet the repeated themes across abduction stories from around the globe, particularly the consistent reports of missing time and generational patterns, remain difficult to explain through conventional means. Whether the experiences of Terry Matthews represent actual contact with non-human intelligence or something else entirely that science and psychology have yet to fully explain, they remain a compelling and disturbing account. Her story joins countless others in a growing body of testimony that continues to challenge our understanding of what is possible and what might be happening just beyond the edges of our everyday awareness. And if even a fraction of what she and others have reported is true, then the time to take these accounts seriously may be running out.